Alright. Hoping alright, man, this time. You good?
Of course.
So, all of you know who this guy is. He has quite a bit of influence today in the area of politics. Most of you should know who this guy is, even though his influence was about 60 years ago in the area of science. And a lot of us today, maybe not all of you, know who this guy is, even though his influence was powerful almost 300 years ago. Mozart, like many musicians, had access to musical education from an early age. For hundreds of years, or even more, musical knowledge has been providing some of the most powerful figures in history. But recently, musical education has been under threat. School systems in my own district, all across the nation, and even all across the world, have been making huge cuts to musical education programs and even cutting out programs entirely. They need to recognize that there are numerous benefits in having a musical education program in our school curriculum. So, since an early age, I've been involved in the musical education system since probably age 11. I can remember having to deal with decrepit instruments, dark, small, cramped spaces, really old equipment, and our school was actually one of the more fortunate ones, so I can only imagine what some of the schools who had even less funding had to deal with. As I got older, especially in high school, I remember our school district was threatening to make a giant budget cut, not just to musical education, but to the entire fine arts program, and so this area has actually impacted me quite closely. As the problem is that most of the committees and people responsible with the budget and all these cuts tend to see it as Stevenson from UK Forum put it, an unaffordable and unnecessary luxury. But in fact, music education is quite the opposite. So music education improves quite a bit. Whether you're operating an instrument or simply using your voice, music uses quite a few different senses. It takes hand-eye coordination to operate the instrument and read music, which is obviously a skill that all of us use in everyday life. Music also uses auditory listening and feedback, which can carry over and improve students and how they perceive and retain information in multiple class settings. It also has a deep, comprehensive process using multiple senses at a time, which just overall improves the learning and cognitive processes of students. A German study done on over 600 students by Hilgust, Bitz, and Kammer showed that the boys, after some time of the musical education program, improved in IQ tests, reading tests, spelling, language, auditory comprehension, and many more areas. And so overall, musically educated students work harder, test harder, and score higher. These studies, as shown by Costa at UT of Austin, have been done for over 100 years with little to no change to evidence against this fact. But besides just improving in a cognitive way, music inspires. Music has been ingrained in human culture since the dawn of man for thousands of years. It has influenced and even distinguished one culture from another and even created new cultures. Music is simply just a part of life. The first instrument was created over thousands of years ago out of a bird bone and to make a flute, and has developed ever since, creating numerous historical figures. You ever have that song that kind of gets stuck in your head and you can't get rid of it? Or that song that you can play over and over and over and never get tired of? Or the song that you put on and it gives you goosebumps every time? I know I do. And I know that most of the artists, that when they discovered their passion for music, they discovered it at an early age. I remember how I felt because I discovered music at an early age. I even remember the feel of the hickory in my hand from the first time I hit a drum, and I've been creating music for over 15 years. So if we cut music education from the programs, not only are we denying these kids and our children and our youth the opportunity to discover new passion, but we could be denying future generations from the next Bach or the next Beethoven or the next Mozart. So as I've stated, music education has long been important to students. It improves cognitive functioning, and these cuts simply need to be eradicated, and music education needs to stay in this program. It's in the curriculum, and it's a language that's understood by all and will continue for the rest of history. Thank you.
Here you go.
And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.